Hello, folks. How is everybody doing? How's everybody doing? I'm talking about my beloved South Africa. And I think in the past, I've discussed many issues that are affecting South Africa that have to do with the failures of government. And I think, for the sake of being fair, I also need to talk about the failures of the private sector in terms of providing solutions for the issues that are affecting South Africa. So, I was actually speaking to a friend who is based in South Africa, Pretoria, runs a business. And this business, they get to process. Let me just not go into the details of what this business does because I actually haven't received permission from him to discuss what we spoke about. But the point that in our discussions about the failures that are dogging South Africa, I was focusing on the failures of government in the past 30 years, highlighting the fact that we cannot do anything unless we have a great government that has good policies, which I don't think that the current government or the governments that we've had in the past 30 years have done that or have had good policies. But then he made me realize that there is also a vested interest among the private sector, among the people who are actually owners and controllers of capital in South Africa, to maintain the status quo. There is a vested interest in not helping South Africa get out of this quagmire that South Africa is in. At first, I was very reluctant to accept what he was saying because I'm not a person who leans towards blaming the private sector for the failures of a country, especially after seeing that that the government is failing so spectacularly. Also because that issue of blaming the private sector is something that gets spoken about too much among the people who are on the left. Maybe I have a bias towards not doing that because I don't want to be labeled as being one of them, which I'm not. But having this conversation with him, I actually realized that looking at the clear data points that he was giving me, the real examples that he was giving me, not based on theories, but based on the experiences that he's been having as someone who is running a successful business in South Africa and a growing business in South Africa, showing me clear examples and evidence that there is a concerted effort on the side of the private sector to stifle South Africa and to maintain the status quo as it is of white South Africans doing exceedingly well and black South Africans by and large struggling. It is a very difficult situation because if you believe in free market capitalism like I do, how are you going to solve that outside of confiscating all of this money from these people, trillions of rands that they are sitting on, that they are not investing, that they are refusing to invest? So even in situations where there is a clear investment case, where there's data and evidence showing that something is actually viable, and not just viable, but profitable, and they just refuse to do it because it's been proposed by black people that they don't know. It's not being proposed by their friends from this old boys club of white boys from either Stellenbosch or wherever. Yeah, so really, that's really the issue that we are, some of the issues that we are facing. I can't obviously talk about specifics in this case because I don't have the permission to speak about the specifics from the respective parties involved. But I'm just telling you that there is a concerted effort from wide capital in South Africa, and I hate that term, but it has to be said, from wide capital to keep South Africa the way that it is. And so I think after having that conversation with my friend, it actually convinced me that South Africa can't be saved. Not right now. Not unless there can be a black bank. There has to be, and I'm not talking about a state bank as proposed by the EFF or whoever. I'm talking about a black bank owned by black people, because development costs money, and money has to be in the hands of the people who wants to see that development and investment into a local economy. And until there is a black bank in South Africa, or majority-owned black bank with a majority black board, majority black executive leadership, there are certain things that are not going to happen in South Africa. That's just the reality. And I'm just limiting the discussion here on the issue of financing and funding and capital. There has to be a black controlled and black owned bank in South Africa if we're going to see any changes. Because a lot of the resistance that we are facing in terms of investing in the local economy for projects that are actually viable, that are going to change South Africa and change people's lives, we're receiving resistance from white capital. That's just all I can say without providing any specifics. There is a lot of resistance, and the resistance is not because projects are not viable. Resistance is because they just don't want to provide funding for black-run projects. That's just what's happening. And stupid reasons like, after they've seen the numbers, after they've seen the data, they say, no, we're not going to approve it because we don't know you. So how are you going to know me? Which obviously doesn't work the same way if the people presenting any project are white. Because any of these successful businesses, extremely successful businesses that we've seen in the past few years, there's always been a white co-founder in them. Yes. I can even give you an example, for instance, of one of the most successful startups now in South Africa, which is Pineapple Insurance, which one of the co-founders is a guy that I know from university. I can't say that he's a friend. Let's just say he's a close associate, but he's not a friend, close associate. But one of the founders also is a white man from Stellenbosch. We can go through a list of any of these new companies that are doing very well in South Africa, like Pineapple Insurance. They become successful if there is a white co-founder. When I'm saying very successful, meaning successful that they become nationally successful, not regionally successful, like blowing up, being able to raise serious capital. There has to be a white co-founder in those companies. Why is it the case? And obviously a lot of them are just white owned. But if there is a black co-founder, there has to be a white co-founder to sort of legitimize that business. That's just the situation that's happening in South Africa. It's a big problem. It's a big problem because the funding that is needed is not just for funding financial services or fintech like Pineapple Insurance. There is funding that is needed for serious issues like education, edutech, or serious issues like industrial funding for farming, for manufacturing. And so, unless there's a white co-founder in a business that is seeking funding, people can't get money. So, white South Africans, we need to have a family conversation about this. It's a serious problem. And it's not as if this white co-founder would normally have more experience. And it's often people who are, they are probably both or three of them are recent graduates, like those Pineapple insurance co-founders. They have similar levels of experience. It's not as if this one white partner or co-founder has like 20 years of experience. No, similar levels of experience, similar levels of qualifications. But unless there's a white man there, we can't get funding. It's a problem. Unless you know someone from Stellenbosch or someone from who plays golf with these Afrikaners who are controlling these banks, or the Jews who are controlling these banks, you're not going to get the money. So while we are bitterly complaining about the government, what are we going to do about this? What are we going to do about it? And I'm just using an example of Pineapple Insurance because I know one of the founders and I know him very well. And so, and I've seen a lot of startups fail, and I've seen a lot of startups that have succeeded in South Africa. And I've seen the big difference between white-run startups and startups that have at least one white partner. So now black entrepreneurs now understand now that in order for you to actually grow your business, you need a white partner. Anyways, folks, let me know what you think on the comments below.